Hello and welcome to the Caribbean Immigrant. I am Kamala Aaron. I am the host and executive producer of the Caribbean Immigrant, which is a podcast that tells the stories of people who leave the shores of paradise for the hustle of the developed world. And I am so thrilled to introduce the person who's pulling up to the Caribbean Immigrant today. She is the founder of The Cultured Life and an international brand strategist from the island of St. Lucia. Hanna, Fitz,
Hello, hello.
welcome
It's
to the
so
Caribbean
great.
Immigrant.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to have this talk with you.
No, it's my pleasure, absolutely, to have you. You know, I was talking to you off record. I used to
Yeah.
be a journalist. Nothing is off record.
I
Hint,
suspected there was a catch there.
hint, hint. Uh, we've met before, and we follow each other on social media, at least on LinkedIn. So
Yes,
our connection is one. We're both from the Caribbean.
yes.
Okay.
The two most
And
beautiful islands in the Caribbean, by
say it again, Hannah. Say it again.
the two most beautiful islands in the Caribbean.
Plus, nous ça parle créole.
Exact. Et je parle français aussi parce que j'habite à
Ah,
Martinique. Ah oui.
okay.
So we have all the Creole culture melted in one, which is Dominica, Saint Lucia, and Martinique, which is the Antillean Creole nation. So we're complete.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love it. Actually, I met your sisters, um, you know, first before I met you, and your sisters are both business women. We'll get to all of that.
Yeah.
But they told me, I think you guys are so similar. I think you guys should meet. Like you guys are just women on hustle, like, just trying to be boss women. Like I think you guys would really hit it off. So
Yeah.
we had a conversation. Before we get into all of that, I
Yeah.
like to start the podcast with five rapid fire questions. So I'm gonna hit all of them to you. I found
Okay.
out, Hannah, that Caribbean people don't do well at rapid fire. We talk a lot, so we don't do well at rapid fire. Let's see how you do, Hannah.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start with five rapid fire questions, and then we'll get into the meat of the matter. Okay,
Sure.
so what is your all-time favorite memory of the Caribbean?
For me, I just can't get over the kind of inner peace that I just feel here that I don't know anywhere else. It's like this grounding, this return to self, this connection to me and my larger purpose in the world. For whatever reason, I can connect with that. And when I'm out, it gives me creativity and inspiration. But in the Caribbean, I get that special connection and grounding to something even more spiritual, I would say, than anywhere else. And this is something for me that is truly special about St. Lucia and being here.
I love that. And I think absolutely, absolutely true. Absolutely true. What is your favorite Caribbean saying?
Hmm. Okay. Um, wow. There's so many. Oh boy, I feel like I'm overheating. I can't think right now. Can you give me a hint? Okay. So I think, my parents always used to say things like early to bed, early to rise makes a man wealthy and wise. And I think every Caribbean person grew up with that. Like we just wake up early every day.
Yes,
And it's something that stuck with me. I just feel like waking up before the sun rises gives me an edge for my day, and I love it.
got it. Who has the best Caribbean dialect and give me your best impression of it?
I'm in St. Lucia naturally.
Of course, Hannah.
Obviously.
So St. Lucians say the.
Yeah.
more than anybody else. So when I hear somebody say, put the plate
Right.
on the table, because you know, in the Caribbean we normally say the, but St.
Right.
Lucians say the. So
Exactly.
I always spot a St. Lucian when they say the.
That's interesting because I never picked that up. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting to hear that.
Yes. Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that, just so you know, you say the, you don't say
So
the.
that is our distinction.
Yes,
You know
yes.
it. So,
What is your go-to Caribbean song?
wow, I really love Bob Marley.
Hmm.
So, just because I've always felt that his music has this sort of just profound meaning. There's a lot of almost like a prophet
Yes,
speaking singing a message.
yes.
And for me, this is for me like Redemption Song is one of my favorite songs
Mm,
because it just reminds us to emancipate ourselves, even if we're free. I feel that all of us have this level of mental slavery that we have to overcome within ourselves, and that song for me is a powerful reminder.
got it.
Yeah.
Um, final question, who is your favorite Caribbean artist?
Singer, like performer right now.
Yes.
My gosh. I mean, there is an artist from St. Lucia right now that's really making waves. And I think he made a really great song that's elevated the national pride. And the
Okay.
song is called I Am a Damn Proud Lucian.
Yes.
And it's become an anthem for the island. So I would say this artist, I believe his name is Arthur. I hope I don't get it wrong. But I think this song has really created a spirit and an energy of wanting to own
Mm.
that part of ourselves. So yes.
I sh I will look that up. I will definitely look that up to find out what it means to be a damn proud solution.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into the deep stuff now. So you are from St. Lucia.
Yeah.
You founded the Cultured Life. You're an international brand strategist. You live between St. Lucia and Munich, Germany.
Yeah.
You lived in Italy. Let me find out from you, how did you go from St. Lucia to
Yeah.
Germany? How did that happen?
I mean, it's a series of long things. Maybe I'll start with Italy. Italy was more spontaneous. It was like I was here on the island. I had my consulting firm based in St. Lucia, founded in St. Lucia at the time. And I just felt that there was not a lot of scope for me to expand my area of expertise within the context of the island. There are lots of incredible companies here, but nothing that allowed me to grow to the next level I wanted to go.
Yes.
And so I just decided I love Europe. I connect a lot with European culture. And I thought, well, where do I go? And Italy, and of course, Milan, because I love fashion. I didn't know anyone, I didn't speak the language. I spent 6 months learning the language before I left. And I picked up in the middle of winter and just went. Um, and then the next move was not really. I don't see that I'm necessarily moving because I love the island. It's always going to be my base, but I spend a lot of time now in Munich. And how that happened, I again saw a conference that I wanted to go to because I'm very big on self development and finding ways to grow. And I saw this conference. Michelle Obama was going to be speaking. The founder of Airbnb was going to be there. It was like
Well,
a huge.
say no more. Michelle Obama is speaking. You have to go.
Exactly. So I said, well, perfect. I'm going to Munich. I didn't know anyone there. I didn't have any connection to Munich. I never even thought about Munich as a place to go to, but okay, this is happening. I'm going. And 2 weeks before my trip there, I told a friend, actually, I wouldn't even say a friend yet, like someone I met through another circumstance. And she said, hey, my brother lives there. You should meet, since you have no one there, going to be able to give you all the resources and share with you information, and the rest is history.
Wow. Wait. So the brother is now you guys are what
My
together?
partner, yes.
Oh, I think she saw something.
He said so. She said so. She said immediately when she met me, she thought there's something there.
That is so cool. Okay, so that's how do you like it there? How have you what has been the transplantation like for you as, an island girl living in Munich, Germany?
So spending more time there, I think, it's interesting because I remember the first time I got back there after that conference. Actually, it was earlier. It was like, oh, I don't like this place. I thought that I encountered a few rude people, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be tough. It's not Paris. I love
Yes.
Paris. It's a city that just lights me up. But it's different. And then just after a week or so, I really started to love this place. I love it because it's green. And, coming from the Caribbean, anywhere that has lots of trees, lots of greenery, this always speaks to me and makes me feel very at ease. I
Mhm.
love to be surrounded by nature, but you have the best of both worlds because you're living in the middle of a city, and yet it's such a green and clean and amazing city, full of culture, full of a lot of the things that I love: arts, museums, history, everything, concerts, theater, all the stuff that we don't necessarily get to enjoy on the island, that I can immerse in a lot more when I'm there. Yeah.
Wow. So, um, now let me talk to you about you being the founder of the Cultured Life and International Brand Strategies.
Yeah.
Um, Talk to me about the Cultured Life. What does that mean? And what does that mean in terms of being an international brand strategist?
So the Cultured Life, the inspiration for my company came just before when I had moved, because I moved back to St. Lucia from Italy after a while, and I then took 2 months off. I went on a sailing trip for 2 months in the South Pacific. So it started in Tahiti and ended up in Fiji. And throughout the journey, we were stopping at these different islands that had like pearl farms, and I got to see the process of culturing pearls
Mm,
and what that looked like. And also because I grew up multicultural. From the time I was born, I've been traveling the world. I grew up in Martinique the first 5 years of my life. I spent a lot of my summers in Maryland, Baltimore. I I've just always been traveling and immersing myself in cultures. So for me, it was a natural fit to call the company Cultured Life because there are two philosophies here that I deeply connect with. The fact is that if you have to wait for a natural pearl to evolve in the ocean and get the perfect pearl, it's a 1 in 10,000 chance. So instead, we culture these pearls to
right.
increase the probability of having these lustrous pearls that we love so much. And so I see that being very a metaphor for life. If we wait on natural potential to propel us to greatness, then we might have a 1 in 10,000 chance
Right.
of that even occurring. But if we deliberately put in the right ingredients, put in the right things, acquire the right knowledge, do the right things, we can achieve our goal. And that is what the pearl symbolizes for us at Cultured Life. That is what cultured life means. But most of all, the company symbolizes transcending borders, connecting different cultures. We have clients in over 25 countries around the world. And And it really is about how can we create a fusion that creates something beautiful.
How or when did you know that you wanted to be a brand strategist, that you were going to tell people, this is the direction I think you should go, this is what I think your brand is, really guiding people to their ultimate destiny? Like, when did you know this is what you wanted to do?
There were a few pivotal moments. When I was about 13 or 14, I can't remember the exact age, my sister Tekla, who you met in Dominica, she used to read a lot of romance novels.
Okay.
And one day I sneaked and picked up one of her romance novels that I probably should not have been reading. But the story was about a creative director on the set of a Marlboro commercial. And so she obviously, with those romance books, falls in love with the Marlboro man, blah, blah, blah. But what was interesting for me about the story it was the first time that I'd even heard about a creative director in advertising and someone who was influencing and shaping the narratives of a brand. So that was like one punctuation mark that said, wow, I want to be in that world. This world is for me. And then I later still went on to study law. I studied international. I got my master's degree in international commercial law, but I knew I didn't want to be a lawyer. And so I started off, I got a job when I left university with the largest financial group on the island, Indigenous, which is ECFH. They own Bank of St. Lucia. And I knew the banking industry wasn't for me, but it was pivotal in the experience that I would get that would solidify my expertise as a brand strategist. I was responsible for their new product development. When I left, I founded my consulting firm and started to work with luxury brands, luxury resorts, private chauffeur companies, etc. And I was doing a lot of different things because, when you're on a small island, like you're doing many things.
Yes.
But I saw that my core expertise was in strategy and brand development. I knew I was really good at it because even when I was a young girl, I would speak to grown-ups and I would say things and they would take my advice and implement it in their business. Right. I grew up around entrepreneurs. All my sisters are entrepreneurial. My mom was entrepreneurial. My dad was a contractor. So I grew up with self-employed people. And so I took a lot from learning what it means to be a small business owner and what it means to have a corporation that acts autonomously. Right. And I wanted to bring some of that corporate strategy to small businesses to help propel them into greater success. And it's something that comes both intuitively for me, but also after 20 years of being a professional, is also being solidified by my direct experience and continuous study of the area.
Very interesting. So who would you say, and I know that you represent Darren Sammy, and for the audience who's not familiar with, cricket, Darren Sammy, consider he's the equivalent to, let's say, an A-Rod, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that's how I'll put it.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the client who's had you've moved the most, or you've had the best? Let me ask it a different way. Who's the biggest client that you've worked with that has made you go, oh, wow?
Wow, there's so many, the dynamics of the clients are so different. For instance, I had this client in Italy who was a wine producer who we were able to create partnership deals with, like Silver Sea Cruises, that sort of thing. But I think one of the client stories and then of course the Darren Sammy perfume that we developed, and to watch that continue to be a best-selling perfume in the markets that it's being sold is also incredible. But one client story that I really like, I mean, all my clients, they're just such incredible entrepreneurs and people. But this one client, I started working with him and his wife. He had his business, he's American, based in the US. And he would show up to my sessions virtually, because I work with clients virtually, during his chemotherapy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And during his cancer treatment. His wife would be at home and he would be in the doctor's office very often doing the calls with me as I helped them shape their strategy. And we rebranded their whole company, repositioned their messaging, helped them with everything. They tripled their business success. They are growing tremendously. They've grown their team. They have more mobility for their family. And he tells me all the time, Hannah, look at where we are today because of the work that we did. And why this story stands out for me is because this guy was going through cancer treatment all while we were doing this. And anyone else, not everybody handles it the same. So I'm not saying if someone's doing, but his resilience, his strength to persevere and push through and show up even while doing his treatments at his doctor's office, is no wonder he's having such tremendous growth and success in his company now. That is just blowing him and his wife away. They have a 3-month wait list always these days for their offer. And it's just incredible to see that while I work with people on their brand and their business strategy and helping them get the momentum they know is available to them, but sometimes they just don't know how to get to it, that their life.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the main reasons I moved away from working with larger corporations per se to working with founders and small business owners. Because when a client says to me things like, have a new relationship with my husband, because they thought they were just coming for their brand, but the work that we do goes so much deeper, because I'm very much into psychology of brand, but also the person leading the brand. Because if we don't shift how you're showing up as a brand, as a person, it is very difficult for the company to make any more breakthroughs than it's already making.
Right.
And that doesn't sometimes happen like a deliberate thing. It's just as we work on it, we're working simultaneously on the business and the founder. And for me, these are the clients that make me the most proud, the ones that had to overcome something very difficult in their personal life, and they're winning big in their business.
What a sense of hope that client had as well, to be going through that and still be doing the work on his family business.
And it was his second time, because he had cancer before. It went into remission. It came back.
Wow.
So it was his second battle. And so, it was just incredible to watch. Yeah.
Wow. I love that story. So when you lived in Germany, well, I know you go back and forth, but I want to understand if you ever felt like, I want to go back to St. Lucia. Is there something that pulled you back to St. Lucia?
I don't feel that way. I don't stay long enough to feel that, because I go like now more like for 2 months at a time sort of thing, back and forth. And I've just always known in my life that St. Lucia will always be my base.
Right.
It's like I've always, even before my partner, would spend the summer into fall in Europe. So I wouldn't even necessarily say Germany, like in Europe. I spend that time in Europe and then I spend the time here. Now I'm going much more frequently because of my partner, but I think that it's always been that I love Europe because it adds something to my work, to my profession. It gives me something I can't necessarily get here on the
Sure.
island.
Sure.
But the island gives me something else that I need too, and that fills me up. Like when I'm here, I need to go back. I need to go out. But I love the sense of grounding and peace where I can collect everything that I have immersed in, that I have created. We create a lot of content and a lot of stuff. I do a lot of my retreats internationally as well. And then I can come and ground that and implement those strategies in a kind of peace without the distractions of all the boutiques and all the stuff that's around.
Do people know that they can become the people that they ultimately become when they first come to you?
I think my clients know that there's something more than that they're meant to achieve, that they're meant to have, or how they're meant to show up in the world. But even if they have all this vision, because they are visionary, they just don't know how to get to it. And what I offer people is the clarity and the path. That's my gift, to bring the clarity and to bring the path that allows them to what I call greatness manifested, which is our motto at Culture Life. I don't say manifesting, I say manifested greatness, because we do it in many ways. We do it because we also have the creative agency side where we actually help implement the brand, from the visuals, the website, the logo, the creative art, to also creating the strategy and systems that propel them forward. Because a lot of people, when they think of brand, they just think about the nice photos, the website, the logo, these pieces. But the brand is a much deeper element. At least 80% of what the brand is are things that we don't see. And when we marry that with powerful visuals, now the visuals become something that can become iconic because it has a greater depth of meaning grounded in what we call your brand identity or your brand DNA. And so I feel in general, the people that I work with or who come to us, they know, like an oyster that just got a little sandy grain trap there, and it's going to agitate until that becomes a pearl. They feel that agitation. They feel that movement inside of them. There's a seed inside me, right? And I know it's meant to become something more. It's meant to become that pearl. But how do I get it out of me in a way that's cohesive, not like dabble or what? I want a stronger momentum, a stronger focus, stronger traction on this. So I've been doing it, I'm getting results, but it's a bit slower. Or I just don't think my brand the way my visuals are, they don't represent me, like my accent. They look good, but it's just not capturing all of me. And so my job is to just bring that out. And so the clients call me different things. Some of them say I'm a midwife. Some of them say and they've called it many different things. But I think that we all have a gift for something. I think that we're all called to do something, and I've just always known that my work is in the life of entrepreneurs. And I really believe it is my calling to help people bring out their greatness in the world in a way that they have had challenges expressing or reaching in the past.
Do you think people know sufficiently the difference between a business person and an entrepreneur? Because I think people use both words interchangeably.
Yeah.
It's a little.
I like that you make that distinction. That I think is a very important distinction. I mean, ideally, a business person should be an entrepreneur, but it isn't always the case. I think an entrepreneur, by the very nature of the word, it's a word that means taking risk, right? And really doing things that perhaps go against the mold. I think a lot of times people do what they already see. And that's part of where my work comes in, because we all do it. We get into an industry and there's a kind of blueprint, and we follow that blueprint until we start to feel like, oh, this is so not me, or there's something missing. And most entrepreneurs are able to see something that's not there and create it, or to believe
but
it
especially
no
in the
one else
same,
sees it.
but especially in the same space too, Hannah, and
Correct.
create a disruption. Like, for example, Uber did.
Yeah.
It's the same business. We've always had taxis,
Yes.
but what they did was something different. And you know, as Caribbean women, I must talk about Rihanna, who
Yeah.
came into a space that existed and just took it to a different level, just
To a
brought
different
something
level,
completely
and
different in it. And I
yeah.
think, you know, we talk a lot, and again, like I said, people use the word business people and entrepreneurs
Yeah.
so interchangeably, but entrepreneurs, they up the ante in the space and see something and create things in a space that already exists and disrupts it.
Sure, but most people are afraid to do that. And I mean, so I developed something which obviously a lot of different agencies have kind of similar assessments of like what is your archetypes, etc. But we took it a step further in how we developed it in terms of what people get out of the assessment, the richness of strategy that they receive in their report, how that relates to them personally and helps them create their unique and authentic presence in a space. And what I've noticed that does for a lot of our clients is it gives them permission to disrupt.
Right.
Because very often we want to be different, and yet we're trying to be this, we unconsciously be this, we're unconsciously being the same. And a lot of times this assessment has allowed, because of the way our system, which is a trademark system called the brand it factor, the way we've structured it compared to other platforms that do it, it really is like taking a 23andMe assessment and then realizing for the first time that you have all of these things, and it tells you specifically where in your life these archetypes are impacting your business and how it impacts your communication, your visual identity, your communication style, and also your leadership style.
Right.
And it's very, very powerful. I've seen clients who were showing up one way, and I'm like, no, but this is not your success code. You're like drowning out that part of yourself because you think people are going to judge you for it. I had a client, she's very hip hop style. She's a beautiful woman, gorgeous, beautiful woman, but her style is she loves Versace and she loves all the print and all the stuff. But she was like wearing flowy dresses all the time and standing by water fountains and all these kind of dreamy photos that was just not her.
Right.
And she just came out and said, you have to be this person. It's who you really are. You're being that when you're with your family and friends, but you're not bringing it out into the world strong enough in a balance that is going to give you a competitive advantage no one else can have. And the moment she did that, it shifted everything for her and her business.
What is, I mean, obviously, we're not going to do a lesson on this podcast, but what differentiates the cultured life and the brand it factor among all the other strategists of brands? What would you say is that thing?
I really think it's the depth that we bring. Most people, as I said, focus on visual identity. They focus on logo colors, creating an image and aesthetic, as you hear a lot of. And we go deeper. we focus on creating identity. Who you are, everything that you are now is not necessarily original, but the patterns with which they come together make you original. So how you like to wear your hair, the clothes that you chose today, the lipstick color you're wearing, everything, that comes from something deeper within you. That's just manifesting itself physically. Like you're reaching for something because it allows you to connect with a spirit that's already in you. And that is your DNA, because you have all your ancestors that have left codes within you. We know that when a child is born, they're already born with certain cultural norms in their psyche that they're going to bring into this life already, even being a baby. Like they're going to just, these codes are already in a part of the brain that we call the collective unconscious. Things from 4,000 years ago, symbols, like if my dog sees a cat, even if she didn't grow up knowing that dogs shouldn't like cats, she hates cats because she inherited that coded in her survival DNA as a dog. So brands are the same. There are these unconscious codes that shape how a brand looks, how a brand communicates, and how it connects with people. And we help people uncover those codes so that we can now create the visual narratives, so we can now create the aesthetic, we can now create the values that are already inside of you, but we can take it out in a cohesive way. Because I say to people, most of us don't have the luxury of being born to a position or to a destiny. For instance, like, okay, Jesus, for example, in the Bible, he was born and he was the king to come. He knew that was his purpose.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're born in a royal family, you know you will be king one day, or you'll be a duke or a duchess or whatever one day. You know your destiny. Most of us have to figure it out. You have to find our way. And what the system helps people do is understand what are the dominant unconscious codes that are already inside you, and how do we take that and amplify it? Because a lot of us, we do it, but we do it randomly.
Yes.
But if you could put it clearly and say, this is who I am and how I show up, that's power. That's conviction. And conviction is what gives you that extra drive to push your ambitions forward.
So I'm interested in finding out for myself as well as for the audience. Tell us a little bit about Darren and how that relationship came about.
Yeah, I mean, I knew Darren for a very long time, but more through his wife. When I left university, during university, I had represented St. Lucia at the Miss Earth pageant in the Philippines. After I'd done the pageant, I then took the franchise. I bought the franchise and decided to do my own productions on the island, have a national pageant. His wife was one of my first contestants, and she actually won the pageant. He went to the Philippines to represent St. Lucia, did incredibly well, was in the top 15. So I had this relationship with his wife, that relationship then. And I remember one day, I don't know, my sister actually, which is, my sisters seem to be a good connection there between all these arts, said to me that she thinks he wants to do something, maybe you should contact him. And so I reached out to him and he said, oh my gosh, funny, you reached out to me. My wife had just told me I should reach out to you. So it was at the same time that I was being guided to reach out to him. His wife was also encouraging him to reach out to me. So it was sort of like, it almost felt like a divine meeting. And so we met, and funny enough, the day that we met, we both showed up wearing the same burnt orange color shirt. It was really incredible. And so we spoke, and at the time he was already planning his retirement as a player, now doing incredible things as a coach. The first step, he did the brand it factor assessment because we needed to understand who he is beyond cricket.
Yes.
And to use the DNA of Darren to create this, whatever products we wanted to create in the partnership. And so doing that, it was clear that given his brand it factor and everything else, we said, okay, we're going to create a perfume. That was one of the products also to be always strengths of having. We knew the exact personality, the exact mood, everything that needed to go into it because of the it factor. And that's how we got to that. So we started working together. I'm a certified brand licensing expert as well. And so, and also having a background in international commercial law, I was able to help him with the licensing contract with this company who has 130 years of existence in creating perfumes in the Middle East. And so, yeah, we just went on that journey and created the DS88 perfume.
What would people be surprised to learn about Darren?
Well, maybe they're not surprised to learn about that, but I think he's incredibly funny, incredibly humble. And I think one thing that I have to say about him, of course, there are things that, we go through, but I think he's a person who is reasonable. And I think this is something that you have to give someone credit for because there are many unreasonable people in life.
Tell me what that means.
Well, I think, for a person to be someone you can work with and someone you can collaborate with, being reasonable is important. Like maybe they might see something differently and you explain it to them. And then if he can say, hey, okay, I understand where you're coming from.
Right.
And I think that's important because there are people, they just don't want to see something other than what they see.
Sure.
And it's very difficult to navigate relationships when a person is like that. And I think that has really been something that I've really appreciated. If there's ever been a moment of doubt or something, he comes to me and I explain to him, even if there is a difference, I think there is always, he's reasonable and we can always navigate whatever it is.
So I wanted to find out a little bit, for us as Caribbean people, cricketers are our heroes, our celebrities, like, they are superstars. So I wanted to find out, about Darren.
No, he's an incredible person. Every time we did a few small projects like some commercial for some brands, etc. And I was always incredibly proud of how he showed up on set, ready to go again with that reasonableness, with that workability, and just the camera goes on and Darren goes off and he's a different person. And I think this is something that I've always appreciated. I really honestly, I still work with him on the perfume. I'm not his management anymore, but we're still working on the perfume project. And for me, I just wish that he has so many more opportunities to do more great brand collaborations because he is such a great person to work with on set. And he's very workable and he's a natural. He's a natural in front of the camera.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Your sisters, you said this before, but I want to zoom in on it just a little bit. No pun intended. Not at all. Are all business women? How you have two sisters that I know of.
Yeah.
How did that influence you growing up? And from my information, you're also the last sister.
Yeah.
How did that influence you growing up, and how did that shape the person that you are today?
Yeah, so I have three sisters, two brothers. I'm the last So my first sister, Tekla, her daughter is a year older than me, just to give a little bit of context.
Right, right,
So I actually grew up with my sister's kids as my generation versus my sisters being my generation.
right.
So it was a very interesting dynamic.
I know.
But my mom was also self-employed, and I that influenced me because I saw how every summer we would go to Baltimore, would spend a month there with my cousins, and I saw how she had that flexibility of time, that freedom to say, let's go spend a month in Baltimore, or let's go spend Christmas in London, or let's go spend 3 days in New York with me. I'm going shopping or whatever. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. She has so much time freedom. She can choose when to do stuff. And then, of course, my sisters sort of followed the same kind of path. And after my mom died, my sister Cecilia became like my mom because she took over. I was 16 when our mother died.
Oh,
And she too had her own business, a very successful beauty salon on the island of St. Lucia. We would go to Miami, New York, because she had a beauty supply store. So to all of the suppliers to put the stuff together to be shipped to the island and all of that. And it was very exciting to be part of the process of, helping source products for the business. And I just always loved it. I love that world. I love, strategizing. I love seeing how something can go from idea to become something tangible. So for me, I just always knew it was going to be my path, but I did not want to, even if I had the opportunity to go straight into entrepreneurship after university, I deliberately wanted to go into a corporation that would give me corporate structure because I saw that the biggest challenge for small business owners was structure.
mm.
And I wanted to learn structure. I wanted to learn growth structures and how companies grow and become bigger or become autonomous, because many people build businesses that can't survive without them. And so that's part of my mission with the clients that I work with. How do you build something that becomes autonomous? And so that is the influence. It was just always part of my life. I didn't know any other life. But I wanted the corporate experience. I said, I'll go into this company for about 3 years. I stayed 3.5 years and I left as planned.
Tell me about the structure piece. Like, what exactly is the structure that you think is lacking in businesses, and what did you learn specifically that gave you that anchor that you were looking for?
I mean, for every business, it's different, but when I say structures, corporations need operations. You
Yes.
you need systems, you need documented systems, you need processes. Things need to be mapped out. They need to be replicable. There are different, when I say there are legal structures, there's operational structure, there's human resource structures, there's product development structures, there's brand structure. And without these things, it becomes something that just lives in the owner's head that nobody else can do. And they're the gatekeeper and no one else can do what they do because nothing is within a system. Nothing is documented.
Yeah.
In a way that others can replicate it. And when I build brands, I say to people, we're not building the brand that people talk about. We're building the business as a brand. Because what most people don't realize is that every major brand, the brand itself is on the balance sheet as an asset. It has a real value. People can buy a brand and maybe not the business.
That is very interesting. As we come close to the end of this conversation,
Yeah.
what do you think business people, entrepreneurs, what do they need the most? And do you think that they know that they need it?
The mindset. The mindset work. I think it's an area that I never really expected to go into deeply, but part of how I work also too is intuitive. And when I'm with a client, I'm able to see certain things in the moment with them and to access certain things and help them move through those blockages. But people always think that it's the next shiny object that's going to get them success. But actually, it's how you're seeing the world and how you're interpreting things, because we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we see it.
Sure.
And the way we see the world started when we were little kids, and we started to define life based on how events played out for us. And then it stops being definitions and events, it becomes life. So we can't make the distinction because it is just life. We don't know that we're seeing the world in a way that's different from someone else that might be getting the results we want.
Right. Right.
So it's not luck, it's not just systems, it's not even just brand. Who you are, and that's why the deeper work that we do with the brand it factor, and when I get the opportunity to work with clients privately, for clients I don't work with privately, I'm just so passionate about this and working with women. I've created something called the Global Club, where I meet with women once a month. We meet on Zoom calls and we have powerful discussions. They get support, get to ask me questions, those sort of things. Because we don't know what we don't know that we don't know.
Yes.
And this is what I think most people miss.
Very interesting. Speaking of women, I see one in the background there.
Yes,
Tell me
this is
about
our Cultured Life magazine.
tell me about that. That's CC Winans.
That's right. So she was our 2024 cover girl for Cultured Life magazine. And yeah, we do this magazine. So the magazine for us is all about elevating and sharing the legacies of women. So we're celebrating legacies and also luxuries. So it incorporates female founder stories as well as travel and lifestyle and art. So it has a bit of both worlds, but it's designed for women just to inspire. So we have like stories from this woman that I met in Munich. She built an incredible company. She grew it, sold it for $100 million. She's partnered with Steffi Graf, the former tennis champion.
Absolutely.
And today she is a venture capitalist and she's very passionate about funding female founders. So we interview very interesting personalities. The next one is coming up in January. So we have the 2025 issue coming up. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Now, what's next for you, Hanna?
Wow. I mean, there are so many things that I'm working on right now. For instance, my book is one thing that I'm working on for 2025. And so I'll share more on that. We're still working through some things to get that out with the publisher, etc. But yeah, this, and of course, continuing to just, I believe in evolution. So I'm always looking to grow and evolve what we're doing and always asking the question, how can we make it easier and more accessible for people to get high-level strategies that they need to grow? And this is something that we continue to use as a driving force to leverage technology to allow us to bring high-level brand strategy and business corporate strategy to entrepreneurs everywhere so that they can fulfill their dream. Like I said, there are two things we say. The motto is greatness manifested. This is what we're out to do. You have a vision, we're going to help you manifest it. And not like just in the esoterical way, but through everything that we can do from a brand building perspective. The second thing we talk about, living the cultured life, is more than just achieving a certain financial goal. How do you curate the type of life that you truly desire. So we always talk about live the cultured life.
Where can people find you?
So you can find me at www.culturedlife.org. Always. I'm on Facebook too, but I love Instagram, so I spend a lot more time there. So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is Hanna Fitz. We also have the Cultured Life Co. Instagram page as well.
Hanna Fitz, thank you so much for pulling up to the Caribbean Immigrant. It was such a pleasure talking to you and hearing about the things that you're doing with the cultured life. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you for inviting me. And if anybody wants to, we have a free book if you want to dive deep into this work and understand how it all works. It's called The Global Strategy. If you're in the Caribbean or you're anywhere in the world and looking to build a global brand, it's free. You can, I can share the link with you, and it just gives insight into, you know, things that you can put into place. There are some actionable things already in there that you can take away that will help you in the journey.
Love it. Thank you so much. This was another edition of the Caribbean Immigrant. I am Kamala Aaron. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.